You boys had enough, huh?
Cutler! You blood-sucking, yellow-livered leech! Cutler, you stole your last breath.
And cut! All right, hit the house lights.
The phone rang, and of all things, a Hollywood film producer was on the line. Now, my last big role was the rabbit in my grade school blockbuster, Hair-Raising Adventures. So I assumed, correctly, he wasn't interested in the comeback of a great dramatic career. But my role as an industrial consultant in the workplace was becoming well known. As a practicing doctor of chiropractic, I was well versed in workplace back and neck injuries, and fortunately, this is what he was after.
I'm sure we can handle that with Foley in the mix, so let's not worry about it, all right? Okay, thanks. Well, as I was saying, Dr. Taylor, I figured with your experience, you could spend some time with my production people. I use them quite a bit, and the occurrences of back injuries are ready to drive my insurance costs right over the railing.
And clean out of the saddle, I'll bet. Jeez, it sounds like they're hitting the bottle as well.
Let's don't get out of proportion here, fellows. Come on now.
I'll make you a deal. I know you doctors like to use intellectual talk. I promise I won't use jargon like squibs, Foley, and gobos on you if you won't use yours on me. Deal?
Okay, you've got a deal.
All right. I should add that the problem's not just with my stunt people.
Oh, well, you're not alone. You know, for business in general, the back is the most frequent injury in the workforce today, and the single greatest injury cost. In fact, lower lumbar... Oh, excuse me, that's right. Back problems are the leading cause of most hospital stays today, right behind childbirth. In fact, you know, given the choice of pain, most of my female patients tell me they'd rather have a baby.
All right there, Slim.
I'm sorry,
all right?
boss.
Just practicing.
Just practicing. See what I mean?
And I'll tell you, besides the pain and agony suffered by the workers, the companies are getting walloped by huge costs as well. There's litigation expenses, staggering medical bills, losses in productivity, all to the tune of about $80 billion a year alone in the United States.
Ooh, now talk about pain.
Yeah. Now there was a pain in the...
Lower lumbar region. How can this back school idea we talked about help?
Well, it's a class, sort of a group training session for any type of business or industry, the employees and employers as well. And during their time together, they learn new skills, develop incentives, and just basically build up their confidence about maintaining healthy backs.
Must be different from industry to industry.
Well, sure. Each individual application may vary, but the basic concepts and ideas are the same in any situation, regardless of whether it's home or work. In fact, the back school really tries to focus on the prevention of injury. As a matter of fact, in all kinds of business and industry, back schools have and will continue to provide a great many positive results.
Even for these characters?
Dr. Taylor, the chiropractor.
It was soon after when I got the go-ahead to conduct a back school for his stunt and production crew. Now, I certainly was no expert in motion picture stunts, but the ideas taught in back school work equally well for any occupation, from an office worker to a homemaker to a house wrecker. Now, as I would with any back school audience, I worked to put it in words and activities common to their workplace. I planned out what we call an obstacle course, a test to show students how they use or abuse their backs. Slim, come on up here. Now, what I've asked Slim to do is help us out with going through the steps of the obstacle course. Now, I know how you actors like motivation, so I've asked someone else to help us out as well.
Gunslinger Gus. Now get moving over that table. Go on, start walking before I make you dance. Come on. Now sit on that chair. Well, ain't you a sight for sore eyes? Stand up. Oh, boy. Now pick that up nice and slow. Boy, you're aching for a backache, ain't you? Give me
What
that.
my students saw was a realistic example of body mechanics, or how people perform a variety of everyday movements, such as the way we use our bodies to lift, bend, crouch, sit, and move. Now, Slim was thinking he was being judged on the basis of a good acting performance, not proper body mechanics.
Get up here and lie down. Yeah, that's right. Hop up there, Slim. Good. You feel good, nice and resting? Well, your back ain't resting in a position like that. Get down off of there. You see that table?
He actually was a good model to show that we are all creatures of our own good and bad body mechanic habits.
Put your back into it. You do it like that, you're gonna put your back out. Pick up that dang carpet bag and bring it over here and set it down. Oh, yeah. Reach. Whew, you tarnation. Put them down. I didn't mean for the sky, I meant for this bottle. Whew. I didn't say take a drink, did I? No, I didn't. Pick up them sacks and put them up on the bar. Come on, belly up there, Slim. That's good. Good heavens, you better take a drink, boy, because the way you're going, you're not going to be round long enough to enjoy it, are you?
Anything else, Gus?
That's Mr. Gus to you, and yeah, there's something else. Drop the rope, boys! Now, why don't you just climb under that? And just be glad that you ain't swinging at the end of it.
Well, what a performance. Let's give Slim a hand there. Well, I think we got the next Marlon Brando there. Yeah. Of course, in terms of proper back use, I think we've got the next Ned Noodlewater. What's that? You've never heard of him? Well, that's exactly right, because he's gone the way of most back abusers. Now, look, I'm certainly not here to tell you stunt people how to do your stunts, but I will tell you this. The cards are stacked against you once you've had a back injury. In fact, do something for me. Everybody raise up 4 fingers. Now, once you've injured your back, you're 4 times as likely to injure it again. And I would imagine that most of you can't afford that, because you're not going to only suffer the loss of wages, there's going to be possible uninsurability in the future, maybe even loss of value to another employer. In fact, many of you might lose confidence in your skills because of the fear of re-injuring it. So obviously, a back injury isn't good for anybody, employers or employees. So it's to your extreme advantage to learn how to take care of your back. And remember, injuries to the back don't just happen at work. I mean, they can happen anywhere, especially to people who have, bad back habits. And to be quite honest, all of us are back abusers, one way or another, especially people with possible careers like Ned Noodlewater here. All we need to do is learn a few important ideas to help us protect and maintain a healthy back. Now, I've asked Harvey here, my body mechanic, to help us out. Say hello, Harvey. Hello, Harvey. Thank you. Pay attention. All right, now, turn around and give him your best side here, kid. Now, contrary to the term, Harvey's going to show us that the backbone, the spine, is not one single bone. Rather, it's a group of interconnecting bones. More specifically, 24 separate movable bones called the vertebrae. They go from the base of the skull to the pelvis. Now, Rick told me to make sure I keep things simple, so I like to describe each individual vertebra as a solid round block with antler-like projections. You can see those right there. Back schools touch on the basics of back anatomy. Students gain much from simple explanations of how the back works, because knowing the back structure helps plant in their minds an appreciation and understanding of the flexibility and strength of the back, as well as its weak points and limitations. Now, Emily here is going to help us understand a very basic concept. Turn around. Now, the spine has 3 normal, beautifully designed, natural curves.
I sure do like them curves better than Slim's.
Them ain't the kind of curves he's talking about, you idiot.
Now, this natural S shape of the spine is important for one thing because it serves as the body's shock absorber to life's rocky ride. And here's another important point. Thank you, Harvey. The back, with its complex structure of muscles and ligaments and nerves, is under less stress when this natural S curve is maintained in every activity. Now, you're probably asking, how do you do that? Well, let me throw you a curve. By keeping the back straight. Now, I'm going to give you some ideas on what I mean by that and on how to remember it. First of all, think S, because S is the state of straight. And it's the best darn state in this here back union, son. Straight state, because you're spent if you're bent. Well, thank you, Harvey. So remember, S is the key. To maintain this natural S curve, you've got to keep the back in the state of being straight. By keeping it straight, there's less stress on all the individual parts of the back. S, because
You're spent if you're bent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, you varmints, up against the wall, all of you. Come on, move it, move it. All of you, come on, get moving. Everybody over here. Move it, move it. That's better.
Since talking straight and doing straight are miles apart, practice helps make the idea become a habit. Using the wall, each student gained the feeling for the ideal straight back. I had each learn the pelvic tilt also. The pelvic tilt serves to flatten or straighten excessive low back curve by tucking the buttocks or pelvis more in line with the spine. The pelvic tilt helps to protect the back and improve spinal support, reducing the risk of injury. Working with each individual, I had them practice the feeling standing away from the wall. A yardstick became a great tool in showing them how straight or flat they could keep their backs, even in a forward bend.
Now, what we're learning is how to prevent back injuries. And, of course, back injuries can happen in two ways.
The first is the obvious one, where the action is greater than the spine's physical ability to endure. The second, perhaps more common, is the cumulative trauma. What that means is that over time we build up or accumulate damage to the supporting tissue of the spine until it can't take anymore. It's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, or in our case, the pack mule's back. It comes from improper use of body mechanics. And that's why we're here in back school, to learn how to prevent both types of injuries. Slim, why don't you do me a favor and come With up these points in mind, I used Slim's obstacle course performance as a starting point for the discussion and practice. Each movement became a focus for the ideal use of the back in different tasks.
Any questions? What's wrong
Now
with
hold on there. You mean my back's better off standing than sitting?
Yeah, there is less stress on your back. In fact, even if Slim was sitting up straight, there's more pressure on his back than on mine as I stand relaxed. And if he was sitting like this, he's going to get a big ouch for his slouch. And I'll show you why.
If we superimpose the position of Slim's spine in this bent or slouched position, we can understand the amount of stress he puts on the ligaments, discs, and other parts of his back, particularly the low back. The 5 vertebrae of the low back are the largest and have the most load to bear. The discs between each vertebra are made up of a series of gristle-like ligaments around a jelly-like center. In fact, it may help to think of it as a jelly-filled roll, the roll being the ligaments and the jelly representing the fluid found in the center of the disc. The disc is thicker and stronger towards the front or belly side and thinner and weaker on the back wall. These discs are firmly attached to the vertebra and do not move, but they act as a shock absorber of the spine and allow the vertebra to move. As the disc experiences wear and tear or injury, cracks develop in the layers of the ligament structure. The jelly flows into these cracks and forces the disc to be overbalanced to one side. If the injury is severe enough, the jelly pushes through the outer wall and applies pressure on the adjacent spinal nerve, and believe me, you feel it. This is the so-called slip disc condition, more accurately called a ruptured disc. The antler-like projections of the vertebra, or bones of the spine, serve as anchor points for ligaments and tendons. The ligaments hold your bones together and limit body motion. The front ligament of the spine, the one closest to the belly, is strong and does well protecting the front wall of the discs. The back ligament of the spine is smaller and does not protect the thinner back wall of the disc as well as the front ligament. The back ligament is also the weakest in the low back area where we need the most support. This seated slouched position puts constant stress on the weaker back ligaments and pressure on the spinal discs. In fact, this bent slouched position puts the lower back under the same kind of pressure as we experienced in the forward bend, and we worked hard to learn not to do that. Now, I realize sitting is supposed to be a restful position, but believe me, in this position, it's anything but restful, especially for the lower back.
Now you know why your ma was always telling you to sit up straight.
Well, you know, strangely enough, most chairs don't give us much help. But for those of you that sit for long periods of time during the day, you can find some relief by placing a small pad of support behind the back and also a footrest that will help elevate the knees up above the hips will do some good. Another good idea is to have a chair with some armrests on it. That will help relieve the back from the unsupported weight of your arms. And for most people that sit at terminals or typewriters all day, this will really bring a lot of relief. But again, the most important thing to remember is to keep the natural S-curve of the back.
Remember the S, the state of straight. Okay, Slim, stand up. We covered other posture-related activities as well. Standing for long periods of time can take its toll, especially for jobs that require it.
You know, over 100 years ago, the saloon business came up with this handy little device to increase their profits.
Shoot, Doc. Them girls been around a lot longer than that.
Not quite, Zeke. I'm talking about the footrest. See, the bar realized that people could stand up here a lot longer and order a lot more drinks if they had something to put their foot up on. And the same is true today, especially for people that work on their feet all day, right? By alternating the resting of one leg on an elevated surface, like a small stool, you can relieve low back tension. In fact, it helps you practice what we're doing today. It protects the back with a natural pelvic tilt. And it keeps the back in a state of what?
A straight state.
All right, good. You remember it. Great.
Well, many back injuries are caused by lifting. Now, Slim has showed us some ways not to lift. We've seen that you can get injured lifting something too heavy or too bulky for one person, or if there's a cluttered or unplanned path. And I also think you should realize that the back muscles are not designed for lifting. Now, that may seem strange to you, but they're there to support the spine and protect the movement. But since there's no real way to avoid lifting, it's important that we find ways to do it correctly and protect ourselves with confidence. Now, in Slim's case, we see a dude trying to mount his first horse, a great example of an improper and risky lift.
Now we've got Tex and Lulabelle up here to help us out with a little demonstration. Let's suppose Tex here is about, 180 pounds. And he needs to lift Lulabelle over to that table. And for the sake of correct math, let's say Lulabelle is what, 70 pounds?
You're too kind. Not too far off either.
Now that lift right there causes over 1,000 pounds of pressure in the low back discs. All right, set her down. Now, let's say he has to lift 200 pounds.
Oh, now you're stretching it, Buster.
That will cause over 2,000 pounds of back stress. Talk about stretching. Just by putting proper knowledge to work, we can protect our backs from such stresses. Now keep in mind, even if we bend over to get a pencil, we run the risk of injury if you don't remember S. You're spent if you're bent. Keep the state of straight. Zeke, that's pretty good. You can set that down. Thanks. Now, you know, when lifting anything, it's a good idea to keep the image of a professional weightlifter in your mind. I know you must have seen these guys at the Olympics, right? Try it again. The knees are bent, right? The back is straight and the head's up. Right, go. Yeah, and that grunt is not just for show. It helps strengthen the stomach muscles, which makes the back muscles 6 to 10 times stronger. Right, you set it down. Now keep in mind, though, the weightlifter is after a momentary peak performance, which means he may be willing to abuse the back, for the athletic competition. The goal for people with lifting jobs is safe, long-term endurance, not momentary excellence. Good job. Thanks.
We went through the steps to make a safe and proper lift. I wanted to stress that the principles remained the same, although the lifting task may vary. I pointed out that the easiest method is to get help from a mechanical lifting device or from other people. But knowing that most lifting is a solo performance, we covered individual lifting methods. Now, once you have the path cleared to carry the object and an idea of how heavy it is, you're ready to begin. Lifting is a matter of balance as well as strength. To help with balance and to ensure the involvement of the leg muscles, just point the toes in slightly. Move one foot slightly ahead of the other, about half the foot length. Keep in mind the image of a weightlifter. Now, with your back straight at all times, bend down with your knees. The steps to this point of the lift will allow the supporting muscles of the spine not to be involved in the lift other than to support and protect the spine. Next, grasp the object firmly. It's a little harder, I realize, when she's kicking and screaming. That's better. Nevertheless, keep the load close to the body.
I think I can remember that rule, Doc.
Now, as you rise, tighten the stomach with a deep breath or grunt. Keep your head up, which will help keep the back straight and flat. Use your legs and knees. Up we go. Keep the back straight, especially at the end of the lift when the legs are straight. Now, lifting while lifting is a big gamble, and I promise the chances are you'll lose. A good rule to remember is just keep your nose between your toes. Okay, I'll say it again. Think S. The state of straight is the idea. With the back straight, the bones, the ligaments, the muscles, the discs, they're all held in their normal positions and at their greatest strength. So, for a big load or a small load, keep it in what?
A straight state.
Hey, I've got a bunch of smarties here. Now remember, keep the natural S-curve of the back. It's knees bent, head up. Simple. We studied each of Slim's actions, from reaching and pulling to walking and pushing and bending. I was striving to put across the one important point of back school, learning how to keep the back in its ideal, normal position with every activity. And the S principle helped to put that idea in mind.
Hey, Doc, why don't you just take a walk around town and we'll practice a spell and show you how it's done.
Well, okay, it's a good idea.
All right.
It's kind of dangerous around town as a gunslinger, so you can just call me Marshall Taylor. You know, it doesn't make any difference what kind of surroundings you're in. It could be home, work, recreation. The main idea behind a back school is to learn how to change bad back habits into safe ones. Now, it'd be nice if this were as easy as watching a videotape on the subject, but permanently changing bad back habits is only going to happen when students actively participate and then practice correct methods. Now, this is where United Chiropractic doctors can be of invaluable service. Not only can they treat most back injuries, but they make recommendations that improve the work capacity and the safety of most individuals. By providing back schools, they reduce the environmental stress on the spine, and that makes workers more productive both in their business lives and personal lives. Back schools are working for business and industry. They effectively contribute to the decreases in work-related back injuries, as well as decreasing the costs of workmen's compensation and litigation expenses. All jobs require us to perform some kind of movement, or it wouldn't be called labor. And labor has us bend, reach, walk, sit, and lift to get the job done. Now, proper methods of using the back correctly remain the same. So, with proper back school instruction, risky habits like improper lifting can be transformed into back-saving principles. Now, repetitious actions like this are evaluated and modified to provide safe, long-term performance, and potentially damaging habits like twisting while lifting, they're identified and altered before the worker gets buried with the painful results. You know, a full back school will cover lots of important areas that interrelate, like exercise, stress reduction, rest, proper nutrition. But the most important factor is the opportunity students get to actively learn and practice proper habits. Now, while a back school will improve a person's capacity for the jobs he does, it shouldn't be seen as a license to increase the demands placed on the body.
That felt great. Hey, Doc, come on in. We're ready for you.
Well, I'm not so sure I'm ready for you, but lead the way, Mr. Noodlewater. Okay, let's see what you got, fellas.
Hey, Doc, notice how I keep my normal S-curve, even under extreme duress.
Hey, Doc, ready for this one? Ah, mister, you're spent. Get rid of that bend. Come on, straighten up. Put this behind your back. Yeah. Get them knees up higher than the hips. All right. Use the armrest. Yeah. All right. Nice smile.
Good, good, good. That's good.
Pelvic tilt down on the bar with my back. I'll go forward.
That's great.
Make way, varmints. Clear me a path. I'm gonna lift up this here woman. Now, let's see. Oh, yeah. Keep the backside straight. Bend at the knees. Toes in. One foot in front of the other. Get a firm grasp. I like this next part. Pull the load in nice and close. Tighten them stomach muscles and yeah! Oh, yeah. Keep my nose between my toes.
All right, you jokers, let's get back to it. Scene 23's next. I told you they're a bunch of characters. Now they'll probably want to change the whole script.
This is script?
All right, now you've got everybody doing it.
Well, that's the whole idea, right? You see, Back School is going to rewrite some of your cost worries. And hopefully with some of these new back-saving ideas, you're going to have scenes that are happy ever after.